we do have some breaking news that we want to report to you. We want to go to London, England to do that. LiveNOW look there across the pond over the London skyline at the moment. We're learning more information about Julian Assange, the co-founder of WikiLeaks. Remember, he has been in a British prison for years over some of these charges of conspiracy with leaking classified documents to WikiLeaks. We are now learning that the United States prosecutors there have reached a plea agreement with Assange himself. Assange entering into a plea deal with the U.S. government today, bringing an end to a years-long international saga over his handling of national security secrets. Assange is preparing to plead guilty to a single count of conspiring to obtain and disclose information related to the national defense in a U.S. federal court in Saipan in the Northern Mariana Islands. Of course, that's a U.S. commonwealth in the Pacific. This is according to newly filed court papers I have in front of me. The press release put out by the Department of Justice. I'll read that in just a moment. Now, under the terms of the agreement, Assange faces a sentence of 62 months, equivalent to the time he has already served at Belmarsh Prison in the UK while fighting extradition to the United States. He's expected to be released and to return to his home country of Australia following the court proceeding later this week. If you have followed the Assange saga for the last decade plus, this is extremely significant. You'll remember for years, he sought refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy in London in 2019. Officials there kicked him out of the embassy, to which he was promptly arrested and taken to Belmarsh Prison in the United Kingdom. Since then, since 2019, he has been fighting an extradition request from the United States. So, according to the press release put out by the Department of Justice, they say Assange is currently detained in the UK on an extradition request from the United States. That extradition to the United States is being handled by the Department of Justice's Office of International Affairs and UK authorities. According to some of these reports right now, that this extradition proceeding has been averted now that the plea deal has been struck here. So this is, like I said, quite significant. We're getting more in from Fox News Justice correspondent David Spunt, and he says this: Assange will enter into a plea agreement in U.S. federal court in Saipan in the Northern Mariana Islands at 9 a.m. Saipan time Wednesday morning. He will be present in the courtroom in Saipan. Significant. He will plead guilty to a felony charge with conspiracy to unlawfully obtain and disseminate classified information relating to the national defense of the United States. Now, David reports the reason it's happening in Saipan is because the federal district court there in Saipan, it's U.S. territory, is closer to Australia, where he's from. Part of the agreement with the U.S. government was to let him plead guilty at this territory near Australia, so he did not have to travel to the continental United States. Now, at the conclusion of the proceedings, he'll go back to Australia. He's not in U.S. custody and has not been in U.S. custody during this process. He's also not being extradited. Now, I've been speaking to some who have followed this case quite closely. The fact that he is not being extradited back to the continental United States is a major blow for the United States, who has been trying to extradite Assange since 2019. He will be sentenced following a guilty plea to time served, a sentence of 62 months, which, like I said, is equivalent to the time he's been in prison in the UK due to the charges against him. Remember, he was arrested in the UK back in April of 2019 pursuant to the U.S. charges, so he served his time. He will no longer serve any other time for this specific felony plea. Now, the Department of Justice is characterizing this as a superseding indictment. Now, normally that means more charges are filed onto a pre-existing indictment. That is not the case here. What the DOJ has said, they have expanded and broadened the scope of some of the alleged crimes that he has committed but it does not add additional counts to that prior 18-count superseding indictment returned against Assange back in 2019. So the DOJ says it broadens the scope of the conspiracy surrounding the alleged computer intrusions with which Assange was previously charged. Now, they say, according to the charging document, Assange and others at WikiLeaks recruited and agreed with hackers to commit computer intrusions to benefit WikiLeaks. I want to put up this tweet here from Fox News. They say, next chapter. Julian Assange has entered into a plea deal for his alleged role in a government data breach as part of an agreement with the Justice Department that will allow him to avoid imprisonment. This is, like I said, very, very significant if you've followed this case very, very closely. Now, remember, that indictment, the original indictment back in 2019, it accused Assange of conspiring with then military private Chelsea Manning to obtain and then publish secret reports about the Afghanistan and Iraq wars and sensitive U.S. diplomatic cables. Now, prosecutors said Assange published those materials on his site WikiLeaks without properly scrubbing them of sensitive information, putting informants and others at grave risk of harm. Now, remember, Manning was arrested in 2010. She served 7 years in prison before President Obama commuted her sentence before leaving office. So back out live there to London, and you can make the argument, at least from the side of the United States, that the Assange legal saga is over or nearing over. As of Wednesday morning, he will appear in person in a courtroom in Saipan in the Northern Mariana Islands. He will make this guilty plea. He will already have time served. He will not be extradited to the United States, and the case seemingly will be shut here. This is very, very significant for those of you, like I said, who have followed this case extensively and closely for more than a decade here. Wanted to get this news in at the top of the hour.